Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. Now, just a little bit more background on who might be angry with the government of Norway or with Norway in general. Let's take a look at Norway. The Royal Norwegian Air Force deployed 6 F-16s into the fighting in Libya, and they did this in the first week of the bombing. This was about the 24th of March. These Norwegian F-16s were placed under U.S. command, not even NATO command, United States African Command. U.S. AFRICOM got the 6 Norwegian F-16s. They have been used in operations. It has been reported that Norwegian fighter planes, along with Danish fighter planes, are the ones that have bombed most targets in Libya in proportion to the number of planes involved. Now, that's a little bit ambiguous what that means. Does that mean that more in proportion than others? I guess it does. That they've been hitting targets. Maybe they're guilty of war crimes based on the Al-Khwaldi compound and other compounds, even the Gaddafi compound, where children and civilians were killed. However, the Prime Minister, Jens Stoltenberg announced on the 13th of May that this military role of Norway would not be continued. Backlash inside the country. He was basically accused of being an imperialist and a butcher. Stoltenberg said, quote, "The solution to the problems in Libya is political. They cannot be solved by military means alone. We are very much supporting all efforts to find a political solution to the challenges we are facing in Libya." So therefore, they promised to scale down their role after the initial 3-month commitment went from March 24th to June 24th. And that has now ended about a month ago. And as I said, they're down to 4 with, I believe, the firm expectation that they'll be down to 0 at the end of this month, beginning of next month. Let's watch Norway carefully and see if they bring home all those planes. But, of course, it's not just Norway. As we've been telling you here in the last couple of weeks, the Netherlands say they don't want to bomb anymore. Berlusconi says this was a terrible mistake, and indeed those leftists in the Italian parliament forced him into it. And here in the House of Representatives, we've got the Tea Party doing something good in contrast to their depredations on the economic front. They are now within 15 votes in the House of Representatives of cutting off the funding. So this is a message which is sent to multiple recipients, even the French, even Sarkozy, the most extreme, and Fillon, who said, "It is our duty to be inflexible. We must be rigid," said Fillon. I guess some French advice in which we can interpret in other contexts. But the French have said they are now open to talking about a future in which Gaddafi is allowed to remain in Libya. Oh, thank you so much, dear imperialists. You've removed one of your preconditions to the to the negotiations. So therefore, I think we have to ask Hassadi, Kumu, Barani, the top al-Qaeda honchos that were operating in the city of Derna and that then moved on to Misurata and other places. Maybe it's one of their networks. Maybe it's the Libyan Islamic Fighting Group, and again, sponsored by the CIA. So let's look at this carefully. Let's do an intelligence mobilization on this. Send it in to me, and I'll do what I can to put the picture together. Other things we should know about, and these are short items, but they're each one of them could be fateful if they panned out. We're told that the day before yesterday, Iran shot down a United States drone that was flying over one of the main Iranian nuclear sites, and that this comes as a pattern, that a number of similar U.S. drones have been shot down over or observed over sensitive Iranian sites. Just as a parenthesis, one of the obvious areas for defense industries is to get into the anti-drone business. In other words, a drone which is designed primarily to intercept and destroy other drones. That might be an interesting thing to look into. I'm sure somebody's thinking about that somewhere in the world. We've also got the former in quotes CIA agent Robert Bayer saying that his Israeli sources say that Netanyahu is preparing to attack Iran. Plausible. As I said to Informativo Pacifica this week on KPFK in Los Angeles, we've got the continued, actually growing awareness that it's actually armed extremists from the Muslim Brotherhood that have taken the leading role in the Syrian destabilization. Again, it's the same thing. It's Al-Qaeda and or extreme violent branches of the Ikhwan, the Muslim Brotherhood. It's all the same thing as in Libya. Now we've also got heavy losses before we leave Libya, heavy rebel losses in at least 2 engagements in this past week. There is a very serious drought in East Africa. However, this reminds me of the buildup right before Mad Dog Bush the Elder decreed the U.S. invasion of Somalia back in November of 1992. The drought is real, but we need humanitarian aid. We're told that there's not enough food at the main camp. We should have a Berlin airlift to distribute, not just at that camp, but in many areas of Somalia and the Horn of Africa. Food drops, water drops, agricultural implement drops, seed drops, other kinds of emergency aid. Follow that up with a Marshall Plan for Africa. The Dakar to Djibouti fast rail would be a key part of being able to deliver aid in a more orderly way and a regional economic strategy. But it looks like Obama's going to use that. He's already used it to send Predator drones, which have now replaced the Eagle on the Great Seal of the United States, and he's also reportedly about to send the Marines to land in Somalia. Not a good idea. As one of those congressmen said back in 1992, the Somalian rebels have real guns with real bullets, and you don't want to find out what they're capable of. Now, let's switch gears now. I devoted quite a bit of attention to the European crisis this week. Again, there's an ANSA wire out as of Monday. There's this interview with more detail in the Cado in Piedi Italian website by Stefania Limiti. We've got to keep up with Michele Ruggiero, the courageous prosecutor of Trani, who has been visiting the ratings agencies accompanied by the finance guards and essentially raking them over the coals. That's the way you deal with them. You raid them. Take it a step further. Now we've got the bailout of Greece, the oligarchs, Barroso, Van Rompuy, and Papandreou. What a collection. A three-headed hydra. They announced it yesterday. We'll get the details in just a minute on World Crisis Radio.